Ana doesn't care to keep track of how long it's been. She remembered the sun setting and rising and sees that it now looms overhead. Through a half-lidded gaze, she watches as a sea of blues and whites rush by. Hope cries, and Ana realizes she couldn't fake being asleep any longer. Sitting up, Ana reaches for the baby and pulls her away from the noodles that held her in place. Ana briefly rocks Hope in her arms, but can't seem to hush the poor thing.
I think she's hungry. Again? She just ate yesterday.
Fea's words and rough groan cue Ana onto the girl's irritation. It doesn't seem fair to Hope, or FSM, or even IPU that they have to put up with someone so easily annoyed. One could look at Fea's behavior and actually think she's the one that's annoying.
Hand her to me.
Fea wiggles out of her noodle strap and climbs across the spaghetti until she reaches them.
Take the driver's seat.
What, me? Really?
Ana pauses, momentarily taken back by the request. Fea just gives her this little look that she imagines says, "Isn't that obvious?" Ana's thoughts are confirmed when Fea oh so sarcastically responds,
No, the baby.
I don't know the first thing about flying spaghetti monsters. How am I supposed to?
Ana says, up until she's cut off by a straight look from Fea. Her cold, sapphire hues callously strike Ana's gaze.
It's easy. Even an idiot like you could do it.
Fea motions to the two long appendages that end in eyeballs.
Just push him forward. We're nearing the place anyway.
Ana sighs, nods, and does as she's told. There's no telling what Fea would do to her if she put up a fight. Then again, even Ana knows it isn't in her nature to fight back, especially after seeing how easily Fea handled her opponents. Ana doesn't know the first thing about fighting, and is starting to regret passing up on Athena's offers to teach her. Ana takes Fea's spot at the center of the spaghetti creature. Noodles wrap around her waist, tightening her in place. She hesitates to touch the stalk, having noticed just how slimy they are.
Come on, Hope. Shut up already.
Ana can overhear Fea's parenting skills. She glances back and sees Fea holding Hope up, her hands tight beneath the whining baby's armpits. It almost looks like Fea's shaking her. If Ana were to escape, could she rest well knowing the last mortal is in Fea's clutches? Ana's eyes are on the two, and she's about to make a suggestion. The words are making their way from her heart to her throat when she stops them, expecting to be yelled at again. Even so, for Hope, she decides it's worth it. Ana's lips part, but she stops again, not by her own doubt, but by the display before her. Fea's brought Hope close, closer than any other time Ana's seen them together. Fea closes her eyes and presses her forehead against the baby's. It's almost like Ana can hear a hymn, but it's quiet. So quiet she can't discern if it's Fea or the melodic sound of the wind flying by. Regardless of the source, Hope stops crying.
You weren't hungry at all, were you?
Fea says, pulling back from the baby, an almost smile on her rough little face.
I was annoyed. Gotta watch my temper around you. 'Cause once you start going, then I'll start going, and then before long we'll both be an angry mess.
A hint of something new lingers in Fea's voice, but Ana's not going to mistake it, not again. After letting her guard down around Fea last time, she's cautious. She can't afford to think in absolutes anymore. Noticing Fea setting Hope down, Ana looks forward again, not wanting their gazes to meet.
Not bad flying for a newbie.
Ana hears Fea's voice right next to her, then feels a quick pat on her back. Fea's arm stretches out past Ana and towards the ground below.
We'll leave him on autopilot for a while. The flying will soothe Hope. She needs a nap.
With that said, Ana feels herself being pulled from the driver's seat.
Wait, we're going down there?
Ana asks, already clearly knowing the answer.
All right, boy, dinner will be served soon.
Is the last thing Ana hears Fea say before she leaps from FSM, pulling Ana along with her. Ana screams and, on instinct alone, clings to Fea.
What are you doing? You can fly, moron.
Ana opens her eyes in time to see Fea whipping her arms outwards. Suddenly, both arms are overtaken by deep black feathers covering every inch of her pale skin. All it takes is several heavy flaps of those wings to slow their descent. It doesn't take too long before the two of them land gently in front of what looks like a tavern. When Fea drops her wings, the plumage bursts from them, leaving her regular little girl arms to fall at her side. Fea shrugs her shoulders, and Ana takes the hint and looks down to notice she's still clinging helplessly to Fea.
I'm sorry.
Ana squeaks as she lets go of Fea and steps back. Fea shakes her head, then looks ahead to the tavern. Fea plucks two feathers from the plumage at her neck, She offers one of the feathers to Ana, while still holding the other one before herself.
Wear this.
Without much thought, Ana reaches out and takes the feather. As soon as Ana pinches Fea's feather between her fingers, it begins to twitch as though it's alive. Light blue energy starts swelling up around the feather, and then it changes shape, growing larger and reforming altogether. The feather becomes a crow-themed headdress, complete with a pelt cloak.
Let me do the talking.
Ana hears Fea and looks up to see that she's already wearing hers. After a swallow and a nod, Ana drops the mask over her face. Surprisingly, there's nothing loud or intrusive about the way Fea enters the tavern. Fea takes these slow, long, almost elegant bounds forward. Unsure how close she should be, Ana scurries behind Fea. She looks around and sees that they have the attention of the tavern's many patrons. A wood shack filled to the brim with large men, scary-looking women, and creatures unlike anything Ana has ever seen. Some are fashioning pool sticks in anticipation of another game, while others set down drinks to get a better look at the children entering their bar. To be honest, it makes Ana feel funny, but not in the silly way. She's lost in the intimidating details, so it's no surprise to her when she bumps into Fea and falls over. Quickly, Ana gets to her feet and readjusts her mask. Laughter dances around the girls, and Ana knows it's her fault. Despite her size, Fea does a good job at looking intimidating. Why did Fea bring her along? It isn't like if a fight broke out, Ana would be of any use to her, maybe a distraction at best. Though the most likely reason is that Fea doesn't trust her with hope. That's right. Now that she has an idea of how to pilot FSM, there's little else to stop her from taking off with Fea's soon-to-be boon.
You two old enough to be in here?
Asks the man from behind the counter. Judging by the single eye at the center of his face, the bartender is a cyclops. His skin is like clay, and his hair is short, spiky, and orangish-brown like rotten carrots. Aside from his sharp teeth and prominent eye, his most distinguishing feature is a large horn protruding from the back of his head. He uses a greasy rag to wipe the inside of a dirty glass.
Age matter? We're goddesses, been around for hundreds of years.
Several steps forward, and Fea is nearing a swivel chair at the front of the bar. After a little sigh, Ana inches forward after Fea. She makes sure to keep an eye on her surroundings, watching as others watch her, and by extension, Fea.
Goddesses. All I see is a couple of godlings. What we sell here isn't for you. Now run home to your mommy and daddy's domain and stay out of trouble.
Ana agrees with what the Cyclops has to say and takes a precautionary step backwards when she hears Fea chuckling. The laughter stops her, and she groans, having an idea by now what comes next.
What if we're looking for trouble?
There's some laughing and clapping and stomping, much to the Cyclops' chagrin. A hairy beast with 10 eyes slaps his hand on the bar. His stomach, or at least what Ana thinks is a stomach, jiggles as he laughs.
Come on, Corbett, let them dry. They want trouble? I say give them trouble, yeah?
I don't serve godlings. It may look like hell out there, but I still have standards. I'm gonna make an honest living, and I won't have the archangels on my ass because a little girl thinks she can do what big girls do.
Nodding, Ana tugs on Fea's wrist but can't seem to make her budge.
He's right, Fea. Let's just go.
Who says the trouble I want comes in a bottle?
Fea says, snatching her wrist from Ana and staggering her.
Don't do this, Fea. He's just doing his job. Don't tell me we came all this way just
to take all of this away from him. This guy's making an honest living, all right, peddling off cheap booze for high prices.
Fea steps forward, but Ana tries forcing her back. It doesn't work, and with each step, Ana gets pushed back until she feels the bar railing against her spine.
All the stranded assholes down here got divinity to burn, and I'm thinking it can all go to something a lot better. It can go to making me a hell of a lot stronger.
Little girl.
Ana slowly turns when she hears the Cyclops' voice.
I asked you twice already to leave my bar.
His one eye falls into focus on the two of them. The pigmentation of his cool blue skin begins to redden. As his pupil starts to glow, Ana can see red veins creeping in around his eye.
I won't repeat myself.
As the Cyclops says this, he steps out from behind the bar, giving Ana her first full view of him. He's a massive man, one of the biggest she's ever seen. His forearms bulge and his biceps threaten to rip through his tight dress shirt. Even from here, she can see his chest flexing against his strained top, the buttons barely holding everything in place. He bares his fangs, revealing rows of sharp teeth just past his parted lips. To make matters worse, he's cracking his knuckles threateningly. The bar's getting loud again. There's hollering, clapping, and slapping on just about every hard surface around. Even the hairy creature is getting a kick out of it all, proclaiming,
Oh, hey, look, everyone. These girls actually get into a corbe.
It doesn't make any sense. The cyclops, Corb, seemed reasonable just a moment ago. Ana looks at Fea and notices she's just laughing, as if this display has no effect on her whatsoever.
Fea!
Ana shakes the other girl.
Come on, let's just leave. Can't you see how angry you're making him?
Suddenly, Anna's hands are slapped away.
Idiot. Watch.
Fea walks towards the large figure. As she walks, she speaks. And like her steps, her words are dripping in a confidence that somehow eases Anna's nerves.
If this man knew his eye from his asshole, he'd know he can't win this fight.
A hop puts Fea on a table, where she's still not eye level with her opponent to be.
A smart guy would just eject us from his domain. No questions asked, unless...
Slowly, Fea's hands work their way up towards her corvid mask. With her thumbs curved just underneath the beak, she continues,
He wants a fight!
Those final words eagerly spring from Fea's mouth before she flips her mask upwards, revealing her face to everyone. There are gasps and laughs, intermixed with maybe an aw or two.
Once I'm done kicking your ass, you're going to bow to me, Morgan, the Phantom Queen!
The room goes quiet, almost silent. There's still voices, but Anna's really got to focus if she wants to hear anything. What she can pick up are mostly ends or beginnings of loose sentences throughout the tavern, all about Fea. From a moment's listen, she hears Phantom Queen said again and again, usually paired either with a flippant or a scared-sounding no way. The room seems mixed on if they believe Fea's claim or not. Ana hears the door and looks up to see a few people running over one another to get through. Ana watches closely. Every move Fea makes needs to be noted. She can't be left in the dark like she was when Fea fought Gilgamesh. While watching, Ana spots something subtle, a slight ruffling in the plumage at Fea's shoulders. The feathers shuffle as though there's a breeze in the room, but Ana feels nothing. Then all at once she notices it, something in Corb. It isn't just the snarl contorting his face or the veins pulsating on his exposed flesh. It's this aura he's giving off. Ana can't see it, but she feels it in her own feathers. It's nostalgic, as though she's felt it once before. It's like the air is thick with his nasty intent. The last time she felt something like this was when Thruth attacked Fea. In fact, the look in Corb's eye is the same as Thruth's. Back then, when Fea asked if she ever saw Thruth look like that, she said no. Now she's beginning to believe that Fea definitely had something to do with it. A blood-curdling scream forces Anna's attention to Corb. He's bolted towards Fea, both arms out, grasping repeatedly at the air. Once close enough, he leaps, closing any distance left between them. While wondering if Fea will move, Ana feels a twitch in her own legs. Just when it looks like Corb's fist is going to crash into Fea, Ana winces and looks away. Even after all she's seen, she still can't handle violence. After watching Jesus in that intimate moment, she couldn't stand to see anyone hurt. That includes Fea. Only after hearing a crash does Ana look back to the scene. The sounds of gasps and huffs guide Anna's vision to Fea. Fea's standing with her fist out and a tremble in her shoulders. In a straight line, her gaze moves from Fea's fist forward, past several broken tables, over a few unconscious patrons, and finally through a fresh-looking hole in the wall. There's a clear look of disbelief painting the faces of those around her. Silence makes itself known by becoming a thick miasma throughout the room. Ana can almost taste it, and it's stale, like days-old bread. Next comes a deep rumble, a chuckle that blossoms into a bolstering laugh.
Did all you assholes see that?
Fea spins as she shouts, as though to make sure her voice bounces from every remaining wall.
He's not just the owner, is he? He was the strongest here, a Fomorian.
There's an emphasis on the last word Fea speaks, but Ana doesn't understand why. Ana gauges reactions from around the room. Eyes are wide, people are easing up from their seats, and those close enough to the doors are making breaks for it. Ana's gaze snaps back to Fea as she watches the girl pluck a feather from around her neck. The feather straightens to such a sharp point it glints in the dim light. In a swift motion, Fea throws her arm out and whips that feather across the room. Like a small knife, it cuts through the air and comes to a loud stop in a dartboard behind the bar, directly in the center. Ana watches the single feather ruffle and glow a bright blue. Then she notices a feather fall into her line of sight. Then another, then two more. Like snowflakes, feathers fall freely from the ceiling. It isn't long before the tavern is covered in the black down. Patrons are screaming their name. Some people rush for the hole left in the wall by Corb, others for the door. Then there are the few that just fall to their knees.
This is my domain now. Anyone here ought to bow down and swear their fealty to the Phantom Queen. Even if you get away, you won't make it far. I'll come for you sooner or later. If you do escape, tell the world I'm back. The Phantom Queen is ready to finish what she started.
My divinity.
A hurt-sounding voice beckons Ana's gaze towards the hole. There she finds Corb, bruised and battered, climbing back into his bar. He reaches up towards Fea, with a hurt look having long since replaced the anger in his eye.
Why?
Ana looks from Corb to Fea. She's staring down at him, a callous look about her face.
I wanted your territory. Now I have it. Swear your fealty to me and keep managing this bar in my name. Any orison you make will become divinity for me. Got it?
Fea holds her hand out, with the backside turned up towards Corb.
I didn't want to fight. You can't be her. The Phantom Queen, Morrigan, she's supposed to be dead. You look like her, sure, but that's what all her kind look like. But the way you made me feel, you took my temperament out of my hands. You made me want to kill you. You really are the Phantom Queen.
Next thing Corb does is rush over, fall to his knees, and kiss Fea's hand over and over again. As he does this, he begins to glow, as does Fea. She exhales softly, and the faint aura surrounding him moves up and into her. This is what it looks like when someone swears fealty. Fea yanks her hand away and hikes a thumb over her shoulder.
Beat it. Come back and clean this place up in the morning.
Corb nods again and again, fear clear in every little bob of his head. As ordered, Corb leaves his bar, his territory, to the Phantom Queen.
Well, that wasn't so bad. Went a lot smoother than I anticipated.
Fea hops down from the table and begins over to the bar.
Give me a hand, would ya? Let's grab as much stuff as we can and get it to one of my larger domains.
Fea says from behind the bar, where she's no doubt rummaging through stuff the way she did at Anna's apartment.
I'm sure we'll find something Hope can eat.
I don't get it. Why do you have to do this to people? It's one thing to be a leader and ask people to follow you, but it's another thing to force them.
She ends up pulling off her mask so she can lock eyes with Fea.
Why are you so cruel?
Fea doesn't answer right away, and Ana hopes it's because she's thinking about her words. Admittedly, Ana doesn't know how any of this works, and can only go off what she's learned from her time with Fea, and from what Jesus and Thruth have told her. So sure, she's naive. Even so, this can't be the only way to gain loyalty.
So, you think what I'm doing is bad?
Fea doesn't glare at Ana, which isn't so much reassuring as it is disturbing, because she's making an un-Fea-like face.
I'm no different than any other god. This is what you have to do to survive. If you think that your friends never had to defend their territory or take divinity from others to secure your perfect little life, then you're dumber than you look.
Well, I look like you, so...
Ana says in a huff, her eyes narrowing desperately. Even though she was trying to look angry, she fears she looks more sad than anything.
I admit that I don't know how anything in this world works. I'm a stupid little girl. But I was happier before. So I want that back. I want my old, safe, stupid life back. I'd rather be a happy Egypt than a monster like you any day.
It only took a second for Fea to go from behind the bar to right in Anna's face.
You abandoned them.
Right then, Fea hoists Ana up off the ground by the collar of her shirt.
You're the one who pushed me out your window. You're the one who ran into my domain. You're the one who stuck with me even after you knew your friends were willing to fight to get you back.
Slowly, Fea's head starts tilting. Her red hair falls gently along her freckled face.
Your friends fought for you. I took you under my wing, but you don't appreciate anything. You're a selfish brat.
Ana feels those words burning through her. She feels like crying, and probably is. Yeah, there's the wetness running down her cheeks. No one has ever talked to her like that. Ana wraps her arms around herself as though it'd be enough to shield her from Fea's words. What hurts most is the truth Ana finds in them. She did run away with Fea because she wasn't sure she could face Truth and Jesus again. Then she was so torn up about Jesus' death, she didn't think for a moment how anyone else felt. They must be hurting just as bad, Truth especially. If she loved Jesus even half as much as Ana did, then she's missing him right now. And if Truth misses Ana like she misses her, then her heart must be breaking.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have yelled at you. I just want to go home. I want to see Truth and everyone again. I want to be with my friends. So please take me home now.
Ana hits the ground rear first when Fea releases her.
Then go. Leave. I don't care.
Fea's words hit Ana so hard she can't stand. She loses Fea's gaze and can only see the girl's back as she walks back to the bar.
I know your type. Incorruptible, pureness. Thinking you're doing the right thing? You'll tell your friends about hope.
Fea stops and lets the pause linger. It feels purposeful, like she wants the tension to ripen. Slowly, Fea turns her body until Ana sees her glowing blue eyes. Fea tilts her head as she speaks in a hushed tone.
Then your friends will tell the world and everyone will come after hope. Then you'll see that there are gods in this world much worse than me. You'll learn the same way I did. Not everyone can be happy.
Ana doesn't know how to process Fea's words, at least not immediately. There's a shiver inside of her, and she lets it out so that she can speak, but only manages a soft whine.
Who let a couple of kids in here?
A masculine-sounding voice gets Ana's attention. She sees a young-looking male, older than Jesus but younger than Gilgamesh, emerge from the back room, waving his damp-looking hands as though he's drying them. He's wearing a toga, much like Athena's, and armor that's dispersed over different parts of his body. There's no long stretch of exposed skin. Draped over his shoulders is what looks like a lion's pelt, but it carries with it this odd, golden luster. Beneath the head of the pelt, as though emerging from the lion's mouth, is his pinkish hair, which comes into several fine pointed spikes. There's a softness to his face that contrasts with his visibly muscular figure. He peers around the room with a pair of blue, dead fish eyes.
Was he in the bathroom?
Fea asks herself aloud, which raises Ana's suspicion as well.
What kind of god has to go to the bathroom?
Hey, Achilles, where are you?
The young man calls out, his eyes curiously tracing over the room. Following this, Ana hears a sound, a loud, sharp, painful sound. A slap echoes throughout the tavern, and soon enough, two more figures emerge from the back. The first is a female cyclops, adjusting her top and looking rather angry, her one large eye narrowed. Another young man, of similar age, build, and complexion to the one in the lion pelt, follows after her.
Sorry about that. The whole one eye thing kinda looks like a target. My bad.
He's got the beginnings of a beard in the form of light peach fuzz along his square jaw. His toga is similar to the other man's, but less tattered and cleaner in most parts. But he's wearing a lot less armor. In fact, none at all. Instead of a lion's pelt, he's donning a long, deep red cloak, held together by a golden amulet. His hair also has a pink tint to it, but it's wavy and runs down along his neck. There are 3 spears strung up over his left shoulder.
Achilles. Go to the bathroom for 1 second and you just disappear? Look, the bar's a total mess now. You must have missed a good scrap. You were supposed to be on the lookout and call me if anything fun was going on.
Well, I waited, got bored, and sought out some entertainment.
He flicks his wrist, lightly batting his hand against the first male's chest.
Come on, Herc. Don't be that way. Just think of it like this. You had to relieve yourself. I had to relieve myself. Now, if another fight breaks out, we'll be at 100%.
Nobody can handle our 100% Achilles.
The first male, Herc, responds in a groan and a palm to the face.
Slight disadvantage would be a lot more fun. I mean, come on! How are we gonna get stronger if we're never pushed to our limits?
Herc, newsflash. We have no limits. We're the strongest SOBs on Midgard.
Herc looks like he's going to respond when Achilles throws his arm out and laughs.
Wait, are you not satisfied sparring with me? I thought what we had was special.
Let's just say there's a charm about our fights. That, they last way too long.
Fea clears her throat and gets the attention of the 2 boys. Their expressions seem uninterested at first, but then Herc's hardens, and Achilles, well, he gets this really wry-looking smile.
This bar's under new management. From here on out, the owner answers to me. If you're regulars, you should swear your fealty to me as well. I might convince the old one-eyed wonder to give you a discount on drinks.
Fea says with a cheeky grin, one hand on her hip and the other lavishly dancing around before her. Neither boy responds at first, but Herc does begin digging in his ear. After twirling his pinky about for a bit, he pulls it out, examines it, then flicks the contents of his exploration elsewhere.
Athena said you'd be tiny and annoying.
Anna's eyes perk up, and she feels her feathers ruffle. This boy knows Athena. Narrowing her eyes, Fea grunts a response.
What?
Herc puts one of his arms into the sling of his toga and walks towards them.
Small, cute, ruby red hair, sapphire blue eyes, neat ebony feathers, single horn on the side of her head,
He says, gesturing with his index finger in a wide swoop along the side of his head, pantomiming a horn. He stops in front of Fea, seemingly unaffected by the fact that she'd just robbed Corb of his domain.
She'll be in the company of someone who looks similar yet different. Tiny, annoying, blood red hair, sea blue eyes, white-black feathers, a single horn on the opposite side of her head.
He repeats the gesture from before, this time on the opposite side. Slowly, he tilts his head, then looks at Ana. His eyes move up and down, as though studying her. Then they fall back on Fea.
I've been instructed to be on the lookout for the cute one. Didn't expect to run into you two so soon.
His hardened expression cracks, revealing a rather kind-looking smile.
This'll make Sis real happy.
When Herc smiles, Ana notices a resemblance that she can't believe she's missed. It also helps that he referred to Athena as his little sister. So Anna's easily able to piece it together, given all the stories she'd heard from Athena herself. This boy must be
Heracles! You're Heracles! Athena's big brother, aren't you?
Heracles. Haven't heard that in a long time. I prefer Hercules, or Herc for short. Now come on, let's get you back.
Suddenly, Achilles slides in, blocking Anna's view of Hercules. There's a big grin on his face, and he's reaching out and grabbing at the air. Eventually, his hand falls on a nearby chair, and he pulls it before himself and sits with the back facing Ana.
Wow, your sister was right, Herc. She is cute. I mean, she's a bit small for my taste. But I'm not one to shy away from trying new things. She's definitely up your alley, though.
Resting his chin in his hands, Achilles winks and slowly asks,
So, Red, what are we drinking tonight?
Admittedly, Ana is confused about everything going on around her. She feels heat rising up to her cheeks as a result of being called cute time and time again. She didn't really think or know if she was attractive in that way at all, but apparently someone outside of Athena seems to think so. She always just thought it was the older girl's way of teasing her. One of Herc's hands falls on Achilles' shoulder. Ana can see him behind Achilles. His eyes narrow and a scowl forms on his face. There's also a red tinge to his cheeks.
There was another instruction from Athena. Don't let Achilles near her.
It looks like Achilles is in the motion of turning around when Ana hears a loud thud and sees Fea's fist smashing into the side of Herc's face. Ana gasps in surprise, but despite how powerful the attack looks, beyond the contorting of his features, Hercules doesn't seem fazed. Slowly, he reaches up and grabs a hold of Fea's ankle. Before she even knows what's happening, Ana hears a loud crash and turns her head to the side, only to see a smaller hole next to the one Corb had made earlier. Ana looks back up at Herc. The attack hadn't done anything but worsen the scowl on his scary mug. He blows a few loose, tousled strands of pink hair out of his face, exhales, then lets go of Achilles. Hercules puts his arm back into the sling of his loose toga and walks over to the hole Fea had made.
Athena mentioned that too, you know. That you had a mean streak a mile long and you always seemed to be itching for a fight. After hearing that, I was hoping you were going to make this fun for me.
Loud cracks echo through the bar as Herc balls one hand into the other. Herc stops and looks back at Achilles, who has begun inching his way back towards Ana, and points a finger at him before gesturing to her.
No touching. No looking. No talking. No anything.
Ana sighs in relief when she sees Fea climbing back into the bar. Outside of a few tears in her dress and some rumpled feathers here and there, she doesn't look too bad.
Okay, crunch time, Annie. These jackasses are your ticket home. You can go with them, but know this. I'm gonna fight tooth and nail for what's mine. That includes that baby.
Whoa. You have a kid already. Wow. They start younger and younger these days, don't they?
I'll fight every army in the 9 realms. I'm the Phantom Queen.
Fea's head snaps back as Herc flicks her forehead with a single finger. Ana doesn't think he hit her as hard as he could have because Fea doesn't go flying back like last time. Still, Ana does wince and cover her own nose. With a bored look on his face, Herc points at Fea.
Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I get it. You think you're a big shot or something. Doesn't matter to me. We gonna fight already or what?
Fea keels forward, trembling slightly as she clutches her face before straightening up and glaring at him.
Ugh! You mother...
Hey, language. You said you had a kid around, right? So watch your mouth.
That rule only applies to her. Right, Herc?
Ana finds her hands balling into fists at her sides, as though she hopes it will help Fea somehow. But she has to wonder, isn't Fea the bad guy in this situation? Athena sent her brother to find Ana. He's doing the right thing, so why does she want Fea to win? Especially after how hurtful her words were earlier. Fea flips away from Herc. When she lands atop a table, Fea plucks 2 handfuls of feathers from her shoulders.
Lucky hit. Won't happen again.
No more words are wasted as she leaps into the air, kicking over the table in the process. While midair, she spins several times. With each turn, Fea throws out some of her feathers, which sharpen as they whiz by Herc. Grimacing, Herc turns and flips that pelt of his over his shoulder. Ana expects the feathers to cut right through, but instead they bounce off and sound like clashing metal. In that quick exchange, the pelt flashes gold before Herc whips it back behind himself. Ana feels a tap on her shoulder and glances over to see Achilles leaning forward, hunched over the back of his seat.
The Nemean lion. Its fur was impervious to attacks, and its claws could cut through any metal. Story goes he just knocked its block off with his bare hands. Or was it a club? Hold on. Hey, Herc! Remind me! You killed the lion with your hands or the club?
Ana's gaze hurriedly returns to the fight, where she finds Herc trudging towards Fea, pelt raised and deflecting more feathers. He peeks back, mouth agape.
I used mine.
Is all Herc finishes before he's silenced by Fea's crotch. Fea's lithe legs tighten around Herc's head. She twists her body and somehow manages to send the larger boy careening towards a banister. It looks like she's finally got Herc, but just as he's about to crash, his body flips upright and he lands perfectly, crouched like some sort of cat. Herc blitzes forward, managing to reach Fea before she can land after her last attack. Unperturbed, Herc picks Fea up by her head.
I think this calls for a power bomb.
What's a power bomb?
Yeah, power bomb!
He nudges Ana.
You're gonna love this!
Herc glances back to Achilles.
Table!
Table coming up!
Achilles shouts as he kicks the nearest table to Herc. The sound of the wood scraping along the ground fills Ana with dread, which only grows when she watches it come to a stop right in front of Herc and Fea.
consider what you—
Fea doesn't get to finish as Herc swings her forward, slamming her through the table with a tremendous crash and straight into the floor beneath it. On contact with the ground, Fea's body bursts. Ana gasps as she watches the girl become nothing but a mess of feathers spilling out across the floor. When the feathers are far enough from Herc's reach, they become tiny baby crows. Chirping like mad, the miniature corvids fly to the bar. The flock congeals into a black and red mass that quickly reshapes until becoming Fea. At first, she's panting, but those strained breaths soon become a deep, rumbling chuckle.
You're pretty good. Not gonna deny that. Stronger than me, that's for sure. But it takes more than brawn to win a fight. I fought plenty of gods that are a hell of a lot stronger than me. Didn't stop me then, ain't gonna stop me now.
There you go, talking again, kid.
Herc says while stepping forward. This time, Fea cuts him off as a sudden updraft of feathers stop Herc in his tracks. The feathers beat around the room, slicing and dicing tables, chairs, and walls. Through squinted eyes, Ana sees a few spots of exposed skin on Herc being cut by the feathers. It's then Ana notices she isn't being harmed at all. Ana checks on Achilles, and much like Herc, the feathers are hitting his body, but unlike his companion, they don't seem to leave any marks. Ana stands up. Her hair dances wildly in the wind, and an endless swirl of feathers dart around her.
Hey, you want to tag out?
Achilles calls through the gale of sharpened quills.
Pointy things are kind of my specialty.
Ana and Fea's gazes meet through the tornado of black feathers and chopped wood.
I'll ask one more time. Do you want to see how bad it really gets? Or will you be able to keep my secret once you're home?
You'll really let me go with them?
Ana questions while stepping forward through sharp winds that part for her.
Just promise me you'll think about the brat.
Ana can't tell for certain due to the stream of whirling black muddying her vision, but she's sure Fea's expression softened.
Keep her a secret.
No! She hasn't an idea of what spurs her to say that right then. Instead of thinking why, she just repeats it.
No. I want to go home. I want to be with my friends.
Shaking her head, Ana continues forward through the gust. Each step feels harder and harder, as though the wind is picking up the closer she gets to Fea.
I miss them so much, and I know they miss me too.
She tightens her grip on the sides of the chair and pulls herself up onto it. A few slight turns of her body is all it takes to balance herself atop the stool. Her gaze rises up and finds Fea's, right before her. Smiling through the cloud of quills and wood chips, Ana continues speaking softly.
But I think Hop needs someone like me around. At least for a little while longer.
You're so...
Fea's voice reaches Ana, and then a touch brings Ana closer. She feels Fea's arm around her waist, then she's lifted onto the counter. There's something tickling Ana's shoulder, and she finds it's Fea's plumage shuffling about. Ana looks out and sees Fea's gale dying down.
Stay out of their line of sight.
Once the gust subsides, Ana sees Herc and Achilles again, now wrestling with one another. Herc has Achilles in a headlock, but it isn't long before Achilles turns it around and gets his companion in an armbar.
You coming?
Right.
Ana steps down off the bar and follows Fea. She stays crouched, much like the girl before her, as they walk around flipped tables and sneak past the wrestling boys. Ana notices Herc and Achilles' eyes both have the same red as Corb's had earlier. Regretfully, Ana whispers,
I'm sorry.
before rushing towards the large hole left over from Corb earlier. She stops next to Fea, who's standing guard at the hole for some reason.
Fea?
Just a minute.
Fea narrows her eyes as she plucks a feather from her plumage. It straightens out, and Ana sees a sharp glint along the feather's edge.
Steady. Steady.
Just as the feather leaves Fea's hand, Ana tackles her. Pouting, Ana pins Fea.
If I'm staying with you, then there are gonna have to be some serious changes. We shouldn't attack people for no reason. You took over this territory, and now we have a way out. You won! That's great. Let's go.
As Ana finishes, she hears the last bits of life escaping the tavern in the form of strained wooden groans. She looks over and notices that Fea's feather is stabbed inside of a banister barely standing after her little trick earlier. It stays for maybe a second or two more before snapping in on itself, causing the entire tavern to collapse on top of Hercules and Achilles. Ana stares, mouth agape.
Nice one.
Fea steps towards the yards of debris that used to be a tavern.
Let me grab some of this tavern's divinity. If you killed those two assholes, I might get their divinity too.
Hoping that isn't the case, Ana tugs at her skirt and yanks on her bangs. Fea crouches down, touches a single hunk of wood. Blue energy flutters up from the wood and into Fea's arm. Soon the light encompasses the rest of Fea's body and then swirls into her chest. She exhales softly, then stands up.
So, are they?
Ana asks expectantly, looking back and forth between Fea and the pile. Fea scratches her cheek and glances away. The physical display does nothing for Ana's nerves. Just then, Ana hears two loud groans and sees the debris shifting out of place to make room for both boys as they climb out.
Thank goodness!
Ana sighs in relief. They're okay, and from the look of it, the red glint has left their eyes, as did Fea's control of their emotions.
Dinner's done. Come and get it. We're having spaghetti.
Fea calls out while taking Ana's wrist and running away. It isn't long before Ana hears the loud sound of gnashing noodles. FSM causes quite the updraft as he descends before them. Fea tosses Ana up, and FSM catches her midair. Ana shivers as FSM's noodle wraps tightly around her, then settles her in nice and close to a sleeping Hope. Fea climbs up one of the larger noodles. Once she's on the creature, she sits down between his eye stalks and puts a hand on both tendrils.
Ana, you don't have to go with her. We can protect you.
Herc shouts as he and Achilles come running up to FSM.
Kit bent, asshole.
Fea says from her seat and flips her middle finger up at Hercules, whatever that means. A horrible feeling plumes in Ana's stomach, but a glance to Hope helps fight it back long enough for her to call out to Herc.
Can you please deliver a message for me, Hercules?
Tears form in her eyes, and her lips quiver, but she keeps shouting anyway.
Let everyone know I love them all very much, and I'll be home really soon.
Ana's gaze rests with Herc's for just a bit before she ultimately looks back to Hope, sleeping peacefully beside her.
There's just something important I have to do first.
First one to kill it gets a date with your sister!
Achilles says while patting Herc on the shoulder. Next thing she knows, Achilles is chucking a spear at FSM. She turns to see Fea yanking FSM's eye stalks away from the tavern.
Bon appetit.
They once again take to the sky at a tremendous speed. Ana takes one last glance down and watches her way home shrink away in the distance. One of FSM's noodles trails up Fea's back and coils around her midsection. It travels all the way up her body and comes to a stop at the side of her face, where it brushes against her cheek.
I'm fine, boy. I got a little banged up, but you know I've survived worse. That guy was nothing compared to them. They're all just reminders that we can't give up yet.
Ana overhears Fea's words, and things make a little more sense. So there is someone out there who Fea wants to fight. Maybe it's someone who hurt her? It couldn't just be physical hurt either, because Ana's seen Fea take a pretty bad beating and shrug it off. Whoever the person is, they must be a whole other kind of bad to make Fea seem sympathetic.
Hey, dumbass!
Fea's voice rattles Ana's ears and pulls her from her thoughts. Even though she's addressed Ana, Fea's attention remains towards the setting sun in the distance.
She's gonna be worth it. You'll see. You won't regret it.
Those words weigh Ana's gaze down to Hope. The baby girl yawns, and Ana can't help but brush her fingers along the little tuft of hair atop her head. Smiling, almost sadly, though she isn't quite sure why, Ana responds.
Yeah, I know.